This is the Amp Hour Podcast, recorded October 27th, 2016. Episode 321. Monster Scale Production.
Welcome to the Amp Hour. I'm Dave Jones from the EEV blog.
And I'm Chris Gamble of Contextual Electronics.
We're back.
Hey, buddy. Welcome back. You missed,
Thank you very much.
You missed Brent last week, but that turned out to be a good show.
I did, because I wasn't there.
No. Sorry. I didn't mean that. Sorry. No, I meant it was just, it was a good, good
It was
conversation.
a good show in spite of me being there.
No. No, it was just a good guest, so. If people missed it, I just always want to point people back. Like, it's really interesting when I look at the, if people don't know, we actually do have a recommended guest thing. And that's always helpful when people add to the Google Doc there. But it's really funny when people are like, you should have Mike Harrison on or Jerry Ellsworth on. And it's like, look, we also have this thing where we can look at the back catalog of all the guests.
Yeah.
So please look at those too. But so just want to remind people that's a thing. And
yes, your favorite person may have already been on the Amp Hour.
exactly. Yeah.
With our hundreds of episodes, it's likely.
Yes, some of them multiple times. So, and more to come. We got lots of great ones lined up in the future. So I'm excited about that. So
and the reason why I wasn't on last week is because Chris changed it from
I pulled an
Thursday to
audible.
Friday at the
Yep.
last minute,
Yep.
and I already had plans for Friday. So, yep,
Yeah, these things happen.
that's it.
Got to
well.
reschedule meetings and such, right? This is like a engineering meeting for us.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, you've got news apparently, which you refused to tell me
I
before
did
the show.
refused.
Well, no, you said it's probably better if you don't tell me.
Right.
And you tell me it live.
Right. Yeah. So pure reaction from
Am
Dave.
I going to be shocked?
No, I don't think so. So I'm actually launching.
Is it going to be a told you so?
No, I don't think so.
Well, where's the fun?
Maybe. I don't know. Anyway,
right.
so my new thing. So I am announcing that I am going to start doing pro bono engineering work. Actually. So there's
For those, please explain pro bono.
Pro
for
bono
those
is
who
often referred
don't
to
know.
in
Is it Latin?
Yes, it means for the
Probably Latin
good
for
of
something.
humanity, I think, or
Greater
something
good or something.
Great,
Yeah,
something like that. Yeah. But it's often referred to for like legal work or medical work, stuff like that. And you don't really hear about it in engineering because obviously there's just a lot more. I mean, not legal and medical have this too, but you just don't hear about it as much. There are some institutions that do that, like Engineering Without Borders, things like that. But mine is.
I have not heard of Engineering Without Borders. I've heard of Doctors Without Borders, which is a great.
Yeah. That's a great
secular
charity.
organization I support. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I totally like those guys. So.
Okay, I'm going to have to Google Engineers Without Borders.
They'll do that. So like I have some friends that used to do that in college. They'll go to like places and help design a well
right, physically. Okay, yes, actually,
Yeah.
I know. Yeah, I got friends who do some of that sort of thing. I didn't know there was an organisation for it though.
Yep.
Right. Yep.
And so this is much less altruistic. I mean, like I am very interested in helping people, but actually this is for me. This is for me to keep my skills up. People may
That's a good idea.
not know. I do a lot less. So my main day job is actually product management, and so I've been getting away from the hardware side of things, and I still do stuff for contextual electronics, but also I am interested in hearing what people are working on, helping them out. And so that's what I'm going to do. So there's a whole bunch of conditions, and I have a post I'm going to be publishing.
There are rules.
Right, exactly. And but so basically it's going to be about 5 hours a week, probably on the weekends for me.
Okay, so you've devoted a number of hours.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, up to 5 hours.
Rather than just go, this is the coolest thing ever, and I'll work 20 hours a week on it.
Well, and it could.
Or
I
is
mean,
it
it could end up being like that. But like basically,
Right.
I have to limit myself because it's just.
Yeah,
I don't want to over promise either, right? So, and that's really what the conditions are. So, the main thing is people that need help would have to pay for parts, stuff like that. That's just common sense. But it'll be in KiCad. I have to be able to talk about it on here, elsewhere. But basically, there's an online form that I set up as well, and I will definitely link that below. And And so there also there's other things too. Oh, let's keep going. Some things I might tell you that you should be doing it yourself, depending on your background and stuff like that. And some things I will say that it's too intricate. So there are definitely some things there, but I definitely want to help people out as well. So if there's design reviews, stuff like that as well, there's a range of things that I'm willing to help with. But I like I said, I'm doing this for myself. I'm offering my services to stay sharp and stuff like that. So the form will have things like your links to your existing documentation, competitive analysis, whatever, reason why you're doing what you're doing, that kind of stuff. And
you might be inundated. You might spend all your 5 hours just looking at entries.
Yeah, maybe, but that's okay. Yeah.
Be careful. Did we talk about this on a previous show? I'm not sure, but I've seen it somewhere, and it was there was this she's like an astrophysicist or something, and she did this. She actually put on her blog. She opened that, hey, I will accept. I'll if you've got an interesting idea or whatever, come and talk to me, and I'll give you my professional astrophysicist's opinion for free. And A, she got inundated, and B, almost all of them were all crackpot, free energy type people. Yep.
Well, I mean, so I trust the people in our audience, of course, and I think that the forum will have enough stuff on there that'll be pretty easy to tell, that kind of stuff. So
maybe you could have like a community voting system.
No, definitely not.
No,
that is a terrible idea. Yeah, no. This is all up to me. I am the judge and jury, and it's I do want to address the point that people often talk about, well, should I be doing, should I be giving work away for free? You know what I mean? And I think it's different when someone approaches you and say, hey, I really need your help, but I can't pay you. That's different than someone saying, I'm willing to do free. I know it's probably a blurry line in the sand kind of thing, but I think it's different. I think that people should value their hours, and I'm not able to, you can't actually, I think some people can write off pro bono stuff, but it's not like I'm going to be writing off anything. It's just, but there is a tangible value to this kind of, well, not tangible, but I guess there is a value that I recognize with this. So yeah, it's all up to me, but I'd love to hear what people need help with. And, so I'll have a forum and I'll have more details. I'm going to be publishing that on my blog, and, I'm excited. I don't know. I think there's just a lot of, I'm excited to help people, right? For sure. Especially if there's a project that's, definitely needs some help, and excited to build out other skills and stuff like that. So hopefully it's mutually beneficial, but
that's very cool.
Yeah. So I'm excited.
I would love to do that. It's simply a matter of time, as you said.
Of course.
One of my conditions would be the same as yours. You mentioned it, in that you need the ability to blog it, i.e. it can't be secret or whatever. It's got to be, open and,
Right. And
so
I think,
does it have to be an open source thing?
No, not necessarily open source, but I mean, obviously that's beneficial.
That's almost by definition, because you are working on the requirement that you have to be able to blog it. Yeah. So by that definition, it's practically open.
Yeah, sort of. But I mean, if I had never published, well, we could get into that argument, I suppose. But I think there's always this different lines about where is it, like, if you just talk about the process, but you don't actually share the details, sure, someone could go back and, reverse, oh, well, Chris then did this and then did this. You talked about this.
Okay. Yeah.
But more than likely, I'm going to want to be able to show schematics, show parts that are chosen, stuff like that. So, I would say if someone's like, no, this needs to be super secret, if you need it, I mean, and that's actually an interesting line too, right? If you need someone to sign an NDA or do something super secret, anything like that, well, no, it's like some people, it's legitimate, right? Maybe.
Of course.
It could be legitimate, but that's when you pay someone, right? Because obviously you're doing that because you feel that
it's a professional service.
Exactly. You feel that there's value in keeping it secret, and if there's value tied to it, then you should be willing to spend money on it. And that is where, like I have a couple consultant friends, and they will review and sign NDAs. That's part of their business, and they won't talk about it.
So will you limit this to projects that are community of value to the community? Like, can somebody come, oh, I'm working on this Kickstarter and I need your help? You know, obviously that's a commercial interest for them.
Oh, that's okay. I mean, like, I think that,
Right.
I think that, you know, I'd like to work on stuff that has, you know, positive impact. If it, you know, that there could be a commercial piece to it, but everything will be taken one at a time, kind of thing. So I don't know if there's going to be, maybe no one will fill this out.
Yeah, maybe no one will.
So that's okay too. I mean,
Okay,
I
that's fine.
don't know. It's just an experiment, and
All right.
I'm trying something new. So yeah.
Gun for hire.
Yeah, gun for
they're free.
Yeah, gun
Free
for hire at a very, very, very low rate, vanishingly small. Yeah,
Although here's an issue with this, and we've talked about this a lot in the past, is devoting. You know, you're saying like 5 hours a week is the target.
Yeah.
How much value can you add?
yeah, that's a good point.
Working on it 5 hours a week, because
Sure.
you know, like
Yeah,
for
context
me to
switching,
come
right?
back, me to come back to a project and just spend 5 hours on it or an hour here. You know, people say, oh, why don't you just work on something an hour a day?
Right.
It's incredibly unproductive.
Why don't you just do a half push-up every half hour, and by the end of the day, you'll have done 24 push-ups. You know.
Right.
Yeah.
Not sure if that's a good analogy or not, but anyway. Yeah, it is a genuine issue. How quickly can you come up to speed? How productive can you be? I mean, you know, 5 hours is okay if you sit down for those 5 continuous hours, but if you're spreading those 1 hour a day over the week,
Right.
it's
right.
going to really peter out the effectiveness of
Yeah.
it. It's
No,
just
no,
gonna-
I agree with that too. So we'll see how it goes. I mean, there's no guarantees here. There's, you know, but you get what you pay for. So
And we were just talking about that before the show, and what spurred you to remind me we were going to talk about this is I was saying that I need to sometimes just, I've encountered this recently, just go forget about the blog, forget about videos,
Yep,
forget
yep,
about
yep.
content, forget about the forum, forget about everything else, and just spend a couple of days working
Yeah.
on my project.
Yep.
Or working
Deep
on
technical type
whatever.
stuff. Yeah, I agree.
Exactly.
I agree.
And otherwise it never ends.
Yeah, that's like
Me doing this full time for 5.5 years, I can testify that nothing ever gets done if you don't devote a lot of time to it. If you just try and, you know, just think about it for an hour or two here,
Right.
you just waste your time,
right. Yep.
really.
Yeah, that is very true. And you know, that's kind of all the concept of flow, right? That's kind of what you're talking about there, right?
Yes. Yeah,
it's like
flow. Yeah.
especially like I think like layout is a great example of flow.
Oh, yeah.
Right, where you're just
absolutely.
in it, you're like look up, you're like, oh, it's dark outside.
Right. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So, but yeah, and maybe that is, you know, that might be another part of the experiment, is just to see if I can even do that. Maybe it would be, you know, bundle it more where I just take a whole weekend and do something or something. I don't know.
Yep, sure.
So, we'll see.
Yes. So if you see less output from me,
Yeah.
you know what I'm doing. I'm
He's getting stuff
focusing
done.
on- getting stuff done. It's the same thing with my email inbox. It's like the reason I've got
Yeah.
so many unread emails is like I can read, you know, I've got Gmail, I can read from the subject, you know, it has quite a, you know, like the first paragraph or whatever
Yeah.
in the, you know, so you can see without even opening it, you can see what it's about, you can see who it's from, and you go, oh, okay, yeah, I'll reply to that tomorrow. But you know, because you know it's going to take 10 minutes or something.
Right. Yep.
You know, or 20 minutes to do it. And you just keep delaying that. Whereas if you go, right, I'm going to clear my inbox, I'm going to spend the next 3 hours clearing my inbox, then
Right.
shit gets done.
Right. Yeah, I agree. But I I think I mentioned on the show before I use Boomerang. That's the thing that like sends email back to yourself. So you can say like send it back in 2 days. And I've had things that I've sent back to myself
5
for
times.
months. Yeah, for
Right,
months.
yeah.
Yeah, it's good, but it's, you know, it's also bad. So
Well, that's why I leave, or sometimes I'll open an email and then I will read it and go, okay, this is going to take me 10, 20 minutes.
Right.
Okay, I'm not going to do that now. Not motivated enough. And so I'll mark it as unread again. So it goes back
Yeah.
into my unread list. So it stays up the top because I've got all my emails sorted by the date and unread first.
yeah,
You know.
yep, yeah, that's how I do too.
Yep.
Right.
And that's kind of the same thing. That's kind of like a boomerangy type
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, it is.
Although, you know, I can appreciate the boomerang thing because you action
Of course
things
you can.
that come in
You're
instantly.
Australian.
You know?
You love boomerangs.
We think, everyone here has a boomerang.
Right.
Yeah. And boomerangs don't traditionally come back, by the way.
Yeah, they're hunting tools, right?
They're hunting sticks. They're designed to fly straight and kill an animal like a kangaroo at a distance.
Yeah.
Very few. I mean, we got hundreds, thousands of tribes across Australia, or we did have, and it was only a very modern and limited invention was the returning boomerang.
Interesting. Aussie history infects the amp hour.
Right.
Let's do something fun. How about, did you see this post that was going around? It was like a little bit more than a week ago. What $50 buys you at Watchung Bay? Did you see that post?
Oh, here we go. Okay,
great.
I haven't gotten that far down.
Yeah.
And
so
what does $50 buy you? And where's this market?
This is the one. The Shenzhen, the really big Shenzhen market that everybody takes videos of.
Right. But is that a specific part, or is that its real location? But nobody calls it by that. They just call it the Shenzhen market.
No, people call it Watchung Bay. So I think.
Oh, right.
Yeah. There's like a bunch of,
which is one word, by the way.
Yeah. There's a bunch of videos on YouTube about it.
Right.
But this is Jesse from Keyboardio, and I've talked to Jesse before about, because he's been over there a while, sourcing stuff for the. If you haven't seen the Keyboardio, it's this really cool custom keyboard. Kind of looks like a butterfly, but it's all wooden, and it's very nice. And so he kind of goes through, though, and it basically offered a box of crap for $50, and then he's kind of going through all the different things that are on there, and it's
so actually bought a box of.
Well, basically he like had people prepay and then say, I will get you as much stuff as you can get for that. Yep. And it's just it's amazing because then he compares it all.
USB fan for 45 cents. I mean,
right. And it is. It's just like all of these things that you don't even think about, but you can almost see the margin markup to Amazon, right? And this is where you get it.
Here it is. Here's an example. A light which plugs into a USB port, right? Which is $6.99 on Amazon. It's 11 cents.
Yeah. Right.
At this market, right? I mean, you can't nobody's making money on that, surely.
No, maybe.
That is that somebody's made a loss on that. Surely nobody's making those for a profit. They made them hoping it's like excess inventory that's already been written off.
Right.
Surely they cannot manufacture that and sell it for a profit even at this market.
Yeah.
It can't be done. 11 cents. Come on. It's got it's a USB connector. It's got LED lights on the end of it. It's got this nice molded.
I guess it could be like a secondary sale, or they're not selling kind of thing. I suppose, but
so that is selling below manufacturing cost. It's got to be.
I don't know, man. What's like?
No, it's got to be. Come on, seriously.
I don't know.
I know stuff's cheap there, but it's not that cheap.
Okay, well let's go to the one that you and I both retweeted this from a while back as well. So it was also Jesse who tweeted about the smartwatch. He had a picture of a smartwatch and then a picture of a Starbucks breakfast. He said both of these cost $9.75 in Shenzhen. One of them has a GSM card and can talk to the network, network rather. So there's a highlighted point here, right? So $6.
I've got $9.74 at the market.
Right. So basically,
it's the H6 smartwatch. I'm sure you can Google
but there's
that.
a ton of these things. So he was basically
it's still only $25 at Amazon.
Yeah.
Still only $25, which is the regular margin. I mean, if you're
I guess
buying,
that's a 2.5. Yeah, you're right.
Whoever is selling these on Amazon has obviously bought them for this $9.74 or close to $10.
Right. It's an efficient market. It's going to be it's going to be a standard markup.
Because Amazon take 18%. It's like right.
Sure. Sure.
Yeah.
But the crazy thing is, okay, so he keeps working on them, and then he gets to finding out how much the actual parts cost, right? $6. So the highlight here is $6 for a GSM chipset, a CPU, an LCD screen, a battery, a PCB, a metal housing, a molded silicone watch band, a micro USB cable, and a box, and a labor to assemble and test all of that. I just read that verbatim, right? So
Right.
that is pretty insane, right? I would challenge a
That
lot
is
of
insane.
like that's
Yep.
so I think it was a MediaTek chipset, which is the thing that's in all the low cost tablets and stuff like that. You know, it runs some version of Android kind of stuff. It's, you know, this is like the Shanzai phone that Bunny wrote about a couple years ago as well. Same kind of thing. It's always that MediaTek chipset. That's the one that him and
Yep.
Zobs are working on, you know, reverse engineering some of the registers for and stuff too. But still, $6, man. Like that's.
But is it confirmed that this is something that you can go and order in quantity? Can I go and say, I'll have $100,000 of these, and I want you to produce them, and I'm only going to pay $6?
No.
Like,
That was
is
the
it-
BOM cost, so he got it down to $750.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, but sorry. Is it $9 if I buy 10,000 of these, and you don't get them from some back alley stock? Right, you've got to actually go and engage the manufacturer and have them made for my order.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, like he talks
Well-
about all this stuff about quoting and actually larger markets or larger orders and stuff. Anyways, there's only one way to find out, and I'm not willing to do that, and I don't think you are either. so
To order 100,000 crappy
yeah, right, exactly.
smartwatches.
So yeah, so I'm guessing probably though.
Right. Okay. I suspect it may not be that easy to, and especially depending on the product.
I don't know,
I
man.
think there's a lot of stuff here which is like surplus. So
It's possible, but I wouldn't underestimate. I mean, these are some crazy costs. It's not like you're getting a labeled chipset from a TI or Microchip or something like that, and then they're
Right.
selling it underpriced. Like these
right,
are
okay. Yep.
locally sourced parts with low cost and all that other stuff, right? But this is the kind of stuff that goes into toys and everything else, right? This is the ecosystem. So it's
And there's others that aren't that cheap. Well, they're still ridiculously cheap, but compared to Amazon, not that cheap. Like I'm looking at one of these little drones, one of those little palm-sized
yeah.
drones with the controller, which is like 5 times bigger than the drone, and it's $9.74 for the drone plus the controller and everything else. But even then, it's only $19 at Amazon. So
Sure,
wow.
but but then there's also people could be selling those at a loss as well, right? So sometimes people will not at a loss, but at a thinner margin in order to try and sell add-ons or get the email address. So like Amazon now sends out like customer review stuff if you buy something from a store. So there's always going to be loss leaders, and there's always going to be, so like it's really hard to tell. There's no visibility into these different things. So.
Yep.
You're right. That is limiting. But I'm really glad that Jesse. I mean, this is a long article, but it's really great that Jesse wrote this up.
It
So
must have taken ages to compile this. So hats off.
So very cool.
I'm just watching a video of a guy taping up a box. You would swear it's in at twice the speed. Like it's set. He's so efficient at doing this.
Oh yeah.
Oh, sorry. It's hilarious.
Yep.
Anyway, yes,
Yep. So
amazing. What can we say?
that's
incredible.
it. Go check it out. I was talking to who was I talking? I think one of my Uber drivers was from Shanghai, and I was talking to him about visiting and stuff. And flights are getting cheaper, like much cheaper. So. You may see me there in the near future. Obviously, I have a trip planned for April, already to that side of the globe, but maybe I'll sneak another trip in there somewhere. So we'll see.
Cool.
Maybe I'll convince Dave to go too.
Yeah, I'd love to go.
I'll work on Mrs. EEV blog when I'm there, and then I'll be like,
Right.
you should really let Dave go for a week, and then we can meet up there or something. The amp hour goes to Shenzhen. Yeah.
Boy, a week's probably not enough. You need to.
Oh yeah, well of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there are a lot of organizations that send people. So, maybe
It's incredible. So this is like the new norm. And it's in fact, actually,
I don't know if it's that new.
segue. There is
You know,
is a Wired article. There's a Wired documentary on the Silicon Valley of hardware, Shenzhen.
Oh yeah, and Bunny's in that, isn't he?
Yes,
Yeah.
he stars in that. Yep.
Yeah, it's like a four-parter.
That's worth the watches.
Yeah.
It's, I think they've got the whole thing up. They've got like a 1 hour video up on their website. So
Oh,
we can
cool.
link that
Okay.
in.
Yeah, I
So
saw. I
think
watched like
that's-
one or two of the pieces. I'll need to go back and check that out.
Yeah, I haven't watched the whole thing. I've just bummed my way through it. Really.
Yeah. Yeah, no, Wired's
yeah,
been
I've
doing
gotta
some
sit down
great
and watch the
videos
whole
lately.
thing.
There's a short one that I posted this week of them building a 747 rather in 9 days.
I've seen that.
Did
yeah,
you see? Oh my god, it's just,
The efficiency in production. It goes
Yeah.
to show how efficient you can make large scale engineering production
yeah,
when you devote the time and the money to
Right.
it. I mean, they spent years and years,
Right.
or decades refining these sorts of production lines. And
Yeah.
To get an entire 74, what is it, a 737?
737s. That's the most
Yep.
common one in the world. So
Yep.
that's what
Yep.
the single
That's
row,
the high
3
volume.
seats on
That's
each
why
side.
it paid 'em.
Yep,
Yeah,
exactly.
It paid them to spend a couple of $1 billion probably setting up this production line.
Yeah,
It's just,
and the scale of these
crazy.
floors too, like the
Yeah,
production
yeah.
floors, is just
yeah,
nuts.
yeah,
So
it's mind blowing.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
I've kind of sort of been in large scale volume
big?
manufacture like that. Well, no, not that big. I
How
mean,
big?
The factory was like 180 meters long.
Oh,
right?
okay. So like just like length. Yeah. So like the thing about the plane ones is just that they have to be so wide because of the wingspan, right?
Yeah. No, exactly. Ours was 180 meters long, which is what 500 over 500 feet long. One
yeah.
huge factory, and we had multiple benches, and products would we worked on efficient systems to move them from one bench to the next, and
Yep.
stuff
Yep.
like that, and so from one actual process to the next, and
Right.
things like that. And that was the key to getting the to meeting the production target that we
Right.
had.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's it reminds me of the old underwater Navy sonar buoy that I worked on. Like
Oh,
we
yeah,
got
yeah.
this big production contract for, I think it was 13,000 sonar buoys, which doesn't sound like a lot, but when you know the engineering that goes into these very specific devices, that is a huge order.
Right.
And designed to make these over 5 years. But yeah, we spent a ton of money designing our own automated jigs for everything. Our
Right.
own automated PCB handling and inspection jigs that'd, you'd put these, you'd put each individual amplifier PCB. There was like 300,000 of them. So we designed this jig where you, with these custom trays that hold all these boards. So you plug all the boards in, and then you whack these trays in, and automated piston, like a piston comes out, pushes the board out, and then the bed of nails comes down, it hooks up to the automated test jig, which I worked on, and then it puts them into a passed or a failed bin, and it's all,
right.
So the end goal is that you push the button and it does everything. All you need to do is load the boards into these cartridge
Right.
type things, and
Yeah,
it worked.
it-
But a lot of engineering went into that one jig.
Right, exactly.
I mean,
and it's it's all based around the idea that nothing's changing either, right? That's the
Oh yeah, of course. No,
Yeah.
well, if you change something down, like
Yeah.
you want different PCB test points. Oh shit, you've just changed
start
the board.
over.
Okay,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
not quite, but
Yeah.
if you change the size of your board, all of your cartridge handling systems change.
right.
Like
Yep.
yeah, it's it's troublesome.
Yep. Yeah,
But,
no, that's a super critical piece too. Like I think it is important to highlight the numbers there, right? So like that 300,000 is a ton of boards, obviously. It's there is a certain point where that starts to make sense, and I think I'm not sure how many people get to that point, right? I mean, like there is.
Right.
I think I saw something recently about like an open jig platform. I forget. I'm trying to find it actually. That's why I'm a little bit distracted
Maybe
here.
it's called OpenJig.
Yeah, I think it was something like that. But basically, it was an idea of like standardizing, laser cut files and pin headers, stuff like that. But it's a really important skill to have, right? To be able to design a test for a higher volume thing. But it's all about where you actually decide to pull the trigger and start doing it.
Yep.
So
Yeah, no, you've got to ensure that, you mentioned it, you've got to ensure your design is done and dusted,
Right.
And we did, we spent years working on the design, and then we get the production contract, and then, right, okay, we know it's a finished design. I don't think there was very little that changed after we built all that automated production stuff. It was, mainly just things change. Like a component might go obsolete or something, or or something, or we might, tweak the performance of something, but that didn't affect the production systems. So.
Right. Well, and then a lot of people. So like, there was a cool article here from Mind Tribe. Jim wrote about some of the manufacturing tests, right? So that's kind of in line with this stuff. And he kind of calls out like a lot of the functional testing, but also visual, X-ray, flying probe stuff like that, right? And a lot of people, like, whenever I talk about this stuff, sometimes people will be like, oh, but what about like a flying probe machine? Like, you should just use one of those.
Right, yeah, because
like,
if people don't know, a flying probe machine is pretty much you can put any board in there, and then you just program and these probes fly anywhere.
Right.
So, it's pretty much a universal test.
It is, but the thing that I always make people pause with is like, that thing takes a lot of programming too. I mean, like, it's still worth it, right? And it's more reconfigurable, but it's slower, right? Because you actually have to. It's kind of like a parallel process versus a serial process, right? Like with flying prober, you have to actually move the probes to two different spots, run the test, whatever.
And by that nature, it isn't as fast, Whereas if you've got a bed of nails tester, bam, straight on. All the probes connect at once. It's like parallel instead of like serial, which is,
Right. So it is another way to do it, and it's good, especially good for like high mix kind of manufacturing environments. But it's still like someone's got to do that, and someone's got to write that test, and it's not easy. So
no, that's why often when we were using like PCB subcontractors and stuff like that, we'd design a production test jig, and we would allocate. If your contract was big enough with them, they would allocate you a small corner of their factory where you could set up your own automated test jig. Your own bed of nails test center.
Nice. Yeah.
So that otherwise they would have had to use like the flying probe machine and then reconfigure it each time. But if the order's big enough, they'll allocate you, and they've got the space, they'll allocate you some space, and you have a permanent setup there just for your boards.
Right. Yeah, that is super helpful. You can definitely.
Oh yeah.
I mean, because
it was much more efficient.
If you figure out in the first, like, what are the two options, right? One is you get a pilot run done, you got 25 boards coming to you, and then they come to your facility, then you put them onto your bench, you're testing them, whatever. Maybe you have bed of nails at your bench, and then you're like, nope, that's got to go back. Like, just like transit times, even, like, you really start to save a lot of money and slow stuff down.
Absolutely. Yep.
So it's good.
Yep.
Testing, huh?
I've set up many of those. Yes, I was a production test engineer for a long time.
Yeah.
Yep. That was my bread and butter.
Yeah, man. No, it's good. It's a lot of problems to be solved, I'm sure, there, right?
It's constant. Yeah. So, and then the maintenance of machines. Let's not get started. Anyway.
Yeah, I'm really surprised at how much those pins cost too. Those pogo pins, like
those little pogo pins. Well, I'm sure if you went to the Shenzhen market, they're right, a cent each. You buy them from Farnell's; they're $10 each.
You can really get up there.
Oh goodness! Yeah. The other thing with the other unsung hero of the wired, the doco on the building the plane in 9 days, right, is the logistics behind that.
Oh yeah.
And we have a segue here.
Oh yeah.
Yes, the logistics behind that. I mean, you can set up your production line, but you have to have a warehouse as big or bigger than your production line just to store all the parts, and an efficient means to locate them, restock them, transport them just in time as they need them, because you can't keep all this stock on your production floor, right? You can't keep, like 100 assembled
wings.
engines, wings or whatever. Like you've got to, I mean, there's
it's almost like kitting. It's like kitting for your own stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I would love to know how they do that at the specific level. Do they kit the whole plane worth of parts? I don't think so. They would have to break it down to each sub-assembly process.
Yeah, because you wouldn't
and
want to
then
like be
kit the
digging back
parts.
through bags of stuff, right? You'd want to like so
Right.
like the guy, because they have specialized people too, right? So the guy that's assembling some part of the engine, he's responsible for that. He's got people that help him source all his stuff, make sure his stuff's ready to go. But yeah, I mean, like that, it's automation at its finest, right? When it works, because when it doesn't work, like you have a plane that's sitting there, right, and you're losing money. It's crazy.
That's what I was going to say. All it takes is one person not to do their job, and that can stop the entire production line, because it's a sequential process. You know, you can't physically move a plane forward unless the one in front has finished that particular process, right? These things shuffle through the factory.
Yep.
And you can't go, that's okay, the one in front's stuck. We'll just move all our parts and our process back to the previous spot and work on it there.
Right.
No.
Right. Well, that's part of the whole
like
the TPS thing, right? The Toyota production system. There's like anybody on the line can pull the chain to stop the line.
Oh, okay. Right.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. No, that's, yeah. Oh, yeah. All hell broke loose if you stop.
Well,
production.
no.
And,
that's actually praised. You should be.
Oh, yes. Oh, no, you
But,
should.
yeah,
If you see something that's going to,
Yeah.
and that was, I had the power to do that. I had the, when I was working in production, and I had the power to go stop the production line, and that was it. You always had, when you've got a production like this, you always have stand-in orders as part of your job description.
Yeah.
Production comes first.
Right.
It doesn't matter. Often we were in meetings, like really important meetings, and, something blows up on the production line. Usually we can hear it or see it. Something goes horribly wrong, and we don't just sit there and finish the meeting. No, we go spend the rest of the day fixing that problem, because every hour down was like, I think it was $50,000 an hour or something would be the down.
You young whippersnappers with your $50,000.
Yeah, no, it's nothing.
You want to talk about chip fabs?
Oh, sorry. The customer would lose $50,000 an hour or something. So that was, anyway.
You want to talk about chip fabs?
I know.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's the exact same thing though, and it's
exactly. And Boeing would be the ultimate. It would be the ultimate extreme of this. Is there anything
bigger
or higher margin than?
Oh, I don't know if it's all that high margin.
No, but not margin, but just high cost. I mean, if that plane, each plane's worth hundreds of millions of dollars.
Right.
It's worth like, I don't know, what's a Boeing 737 worth? I'm going to look it up.
It's got to be at least tens of millions, right?
Oh, it's 100 million or something, right? It's,
I'd say a higher cost thing would be like
unit cost 32 million. That's a bargain. No wonder they're buying them.
Right.
Right.
What a steal.
Oh, no, it depends on the configuration. It can go up to 101 million. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, anywhere from 32 million up to 101 million per unit.
Jeez.
And they're doing what, 9 a week, is it? What is it?
Yeah, it was something like it was some crazy amount,
Yeah.
for something that big.
In just 9 days, but what's the actual throughput? At a rate of 42 per month. Yep. There you go.
Yeah.
So
like
it's more than one
a
day. So it's $100 million plane every day.
Yeah, that's nuts.
Maybe $100 million worth of sales every day.
Yep.
Wow. Okay, multiply that by, and that'd run 365 as well.
Yeah, but that's on par with like car manufacturers can do that too. I mean, like that.
Yeah,
but
true.
it is the same kind of thing. It's all about is it all bundled into one big thing or a bunch of smaller things like that, right? Because you can take it all the way down to the chip level, and then it's like, one chip is $3, but you've got however many in a carrier kind of thing. So, yeah.
Or in the case of the high-end Intel chips, each chip can be $1,000.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So it's all about balancing mass margin or dollars per minute, right? That's pretty much what it comes down to. That's crazy.
Man.
Yeah.
Did I say there was a segue?
You did. Yeah. Was it the Mauser thing?
Yes, the Mauser thing. Correct.
Yeah, that's
because
fun.
you put this, you've been watching lots of YouTube videos lately, and we've seen this before, but it never gets old.
Yeah, no, it doesn't.
It's the life of an order at Mauser, and it shows them how they go. So I'm surprised. I'm looking at, like a minute 25 into it, and there's this woman there manually peeling off the stickers and putting them on the boxes, just like I do here. I've got one of these thermal label printer things, specialist label printer, and you whack them on the thing. And I thought they would have. It's surprisingly manual.
I'm not surprised by that at all.
Had more automation.
Well, maybe at the shipping level, but like
okay.
I don't know, man. This is like one of the most. We talk about high mix earlier in the show, right? But like talk about high mix, it's like how many parts does Mauser have on their catalog? Does DigiKey have the catalog?
Yeah, exactly.
It's just like so many different things that it's. If you tried to automate for that, it just wouldn't make sense.
It wouldn't make sense. Whereas it makes sense for a production line because you know what you're building. You know what your order is.
Right.
Right. But Mauser have no clue what Dave Jones is going to order tomorrow.
Does Dave Jones know what Dave Jones is going to order tomorrow?
No, that's right. It could
that's
be
the magic.
Parts could be
that's
on.
The magic.
I could order 100 separate resistors of one each, quantity of one. They'll sell me one, and they could be on opposite parts of the factory. And, whew.
I wonder if that's the question. It's like, is it actually priced at that level, right? So you buy like one resistor. If you tell them to snip a 10K resistor off the reel,
from
right?
the reel,
yeah, it should cost, the actual unit cost of producing that resistor is, 0.00001 cent or less, right? But you'll end up paying at least 15 or 20 cents because of the overhead of someone actually going and clipping it, putting it in a bag, whatever.
But even then, I'm sure that doesn't actually pay for the cost at the individual component level. They would average out at some point.
Right. So is there a number of resistors, of single resistors that you could order that you put Mauser out of business? Not that we don't want to do that. Don't do that. But
they would probably have the data to do this, and it'd be interesting. I'm sure they will. Big data. If you analysed all the data of all the orders and everything, and where the location of the components in the warehouse. But when you've put all your shopping cart, all your components in your shopping cart, it then goes away using the magic algorithm and the big data and calculates an additional pick-in cost based on how many people have to go in what directions. The actual time, they could get an average time. Oh, that one's right in the back of the warehouse, and you picked 5 parts that are in 5 geographically of the worst locations. So you're going to pay a warehouse geolocation tax of.
Or maybe we're just super diluted, and everything is they make sure everything's a net positive. Covering their overhead, which is probably the smart thing to do. So. Oh yeah,
of course. But you probably because that'd piss the customer off if you did that. Oh, I'm getting paid. I'm paying a tax because I chose these parts. Because
they put stuff in something, one place versus another.
Yeah. So they would have to find a way to make money elsewhere. They just mark up on average, to cater for all this. So. But it'd be fascinating. It'd be a data analyst dream.
Oh yeah, that kind of stuff is.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
well, and I think it's definitely interesting because people talk about like the Amazon. They bought, what was the company they bought? The robot company.
I don't know.
I remember it was for $750 million, but I can't remember the name of the company. But that was like because it actually moves the shelves, right? And maybe that's possible, but even still, that's higher, slightly. Well, maybe not higher margin. I don't know. There isn't that level of automation at the pick level yet. And even Amazon, they don't have robots picking things because human dexterity is still better.
Oh, yeah, it's still much better. Kiva is the company.
Kiva, that's right. Yep. Yeah, and so it's that stuff is. I mean, and that's another interesting job too, like that automation stuff, and that is definitely not going away anytime soon.
Nope.
So, yeah. Automation and stuff. What else?
Will they be replaced by robots? No. As you said, human dexterity is just, orders of magnitude better.
Yeah.
Especially for ad hoc stuff like this, where things go wrong and human has to decide.
Right.
And yeah.
Right, and sometimes you can fake things out, right? You can make it look like it's a robot, but not always.
Right.
And there's another thing on our list about faking it to look intelligent.
Tell me. I don't know.
Oh, this is the faux intelligent voice-activated switch.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Right. It's
really
just
like
doing
this.
fake voice recognition.
Right, so this is an analog solution that Dev TTYS0, I don't know if I'm saying that right. I forget his name, sorry. But basically it's like the clapper, but it's not just threshold detect like the clapper is. This is actually a little bit more intelligent where it kind of averages looking at the diagram. Well, highly recommend that people watch the video, but there's amplification, there's bandpass filtering, triggering, and then dynamic delay. And it's all about the delay that actually makes it kind of seem like it's intelligent. And
Right.
yeah, so it's a cool little circuit though. Good
Yeah, it's
filtering.
just using op amps and stuff like that, but it's...
Yep, and triggering different MOSFETs and stuff for the relay driver. So good circuit. I dig it.
Voice activation, turn on a light.
Yeah.
Yeah, but sorry, just use a switch.
Well, right. I know this is more of a fun project than a.
Oh, no,
yeah.
of course. No,
This isn't like IoT,
totally.
you know.
No,
like-
this is not an Internet of Things.
right. This is not going to
Rubbish.
attack your network when you're sleeping, kind of thing, right? Yeah.
Bloody Internet of Things.
Yeah. Which we should mention, I guess. When we mentioned last week, or whatever weeks ago, there was another big attack. This time on DNS servers. So like and it knocked
Did that
out.
come from the zombie Internet of Things devices again, did it?
Yeah, it did.
Right.
Yeah. And so it's like IP cameras and stuff like that.
Right.
And so I was talking to my dad about it. Actually, he was all concerned about. He's like, "Oh, I read that you should be changing your router passwords," and I hadn't really thought about how they're actually doing all this stuff, but that kind of tipped me off. So I think what they're doing is they're basically phishing people. So that the people that are setting up these botnets, they're phishing people, and then they through your computer, right? So then basically you have something on your computer, then it's on your IP address on your local network. And then they can basically see what's on your local network, like your router, like your IP cameras, whatever. And then those have default logins. So it's not like they're accessing these things necessarily externally, but I think it's like they're getting onto your local network somehow through a phishing backdoor type thing.
Oh, yeah, it's not hard to actually prevent this. Yes, change your bloody router password. It's
Right.
not admin.
Right.
You
Yeah,
know,
exactly.
I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
which is what it is if you get it out of the box. You know, it's just, yeah,
Right.
it isn't rocket science.
Right.
But most people don't. I mean, you know,
Right. Well, I mean,
90%,
think about the
95,
common
99.
person that are buying these things, right? I mean, like it's just
of course, that ain't
they don't even know it's an issue, right? I mean, it's not always like negligence. It's not always deliberate negligence. It's just negligence.
You're right.
It's not like they're like, oh, I'll change it tomorrow. It's like they don't even know that that's a thing, you know? So
Right.
yeah. But there was another interesting article about this. So like Recode wrote about it. Like, should we be? I think maybe we've mentioned that on here before too. Of like, should it be on the company, right? So like, why are there even default passwords in the first place, right? This is kind of the downside to increasingly powerful chips at low cost, right? I mean, like, just because you can have a Linux stack doesn't mean you should have a Linux stack, right? Or like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like all of these devices are, you know, they're running Linux. They've got enough juice to do that kind of thing. They have these stacks for getting IP packets on the network and stuff, but then they leave the rest off, and it's like, oh well. So is it on them or is it on the user? I mean, like, what really happens there?
It's ultimately got to be, well, these things must have a default password because you need to hardware reset these things,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You know, occasionally when they lock up or do whatever, right? And then you've got to either have no password or some default password. So, you know, no password's the same as a default password, right? There's no real difference there. So they must have that. So not saying the onus should be on the manufacturer, but the manufacturer can solve this by only allowing, actually a lot of them do this. You get a router out of the box. I had this the other day, right? I got a new router here for my new office and it came with a setup CD, right? But my machine doesn't have a CD drive, right?
Yeah, right.
Or it's not hooked up, right? So I was using the SATA for something else, whatever, right? So I got, and that I looked at the automated checklist and yes, I think it forces you to change the password when you set the thing up. Mm-hmm. But I just plugged it in and got it working and then I really,
Right. Then you forget about it,
know, because I know, but I'm technical, I know that I should change the password. So I went in to the admin, the actual router setup, which the average user doesn't get into. Some install application handles it for them, and I set the security up myself.
Okay.
But yeah, a lot of the time, you need to force the user into this security setup. Look, you can't install this thing. It will not work unless you give it a decent password, and you can even force them to use a decent password. It's got to be X characters long and a mix of blah, 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 blah.
Yep.
All right. So, yep. I love is it an XKCD about password strength?
Probably. I mean, like at this point, it's like, yeah, probably. I don't know.
Hang on, I'll find it.
Okay. What about it though? It's just about like.
Yeah. Yes, here it is. Password strength. I'll send it to you. This is good. It's how
We should just do a thing where you say, "I'll send it to you," and then we just sit here laughing for the next 2 minutes.
Right. Anyway, it's about how a lot of these systems will force you, you must choose a new password, and they'll force you, it must be a mix of upper and lowercase numbers and a symbol,
Right.
some, and
It's 936 if people are wondering as well. It's the
yes,
that's
it's
the
936
KCD number.
Yep. And he went through, and this is actually, experts have confirmed this, that it's actually more secure to choose just normal words, all lowercase, but like put string like 4 words together, and it's stronger to have ordinary words that are in a dictionary. So you might think, oh no, dictionary attack. But the longer you make it, in this case, it was 4 words with like 16 characters or something. And it's more secure to use that longer password with easily remembered words than it is to have the 12-digit mixed upper lowercase symbol thing. And there's actually math to go through, and you can actually prove it, that it's actually more secure, which is really cool.
Yeah.
And
So I think
but they force you, and I hate it when they force you. Why, to choose some really obscure upper lowercase mix, symbol mix, it's frustrating.
Right.
Anyway.
I'm really hoping, I think I mentioned this on the show before, but I really hope that we move towards the Ready Player One version of the world. So that's the book. That's that book about VR, set in the 80s, kind of like Willy Wonka meets VR. It's a great book, and Steven Spielberg's making a movie right now, and I love that book so much, and everybody should go read it. But because it's a VR system, right? They put on these headsets, and then they have to speak their password to get onto this network. And so what they do is they have pass-phrases, which it's in the same vein where it's like it's going to be multiple words, and the main character quotes that they might be giant song. One of my favorite lines from the book. I mean, it's not from the book, but it's "No one in the world gets what they want, and that is beautiful." That's his password.
And that's his password. Yeah, and that is massively secure.
Right, exactly. Right. I mean, like,
it contains so many bits. The entropy is so large on that.
Right.
It's
right. So, what I'm really trying to say is, go read Ready Player One. It's so good.
Right. I think I'll watch the movie first.
Oh, dude, read it first. It's such a good book.
There's so many books to read.
Oh, come on. Have I steered you wrong? Have I steered you wrong? I finished Seven Eves too, by the way. I mentioned that on the show before. Man, that was.
Yes, you've often steered me wrong on books.
Which one?
You rave about them.
Did you finish them?
Yeah, well, that was so crap that some of them I didn't finish.
Are these fiction or nonfiction? I don't take any credit for nonfiction.
No, these were fiction. Anyway, yep. No, you're not running a good ratio.
Which one?
Oh, the what's the bloody name of it? The one you rave about with the Innovator's Dilemma. That's
nonfiction. That's nonfiction.
Yeah.
I said fiction or nonfiction. I haven't steered you wrong with fiction yet, have I?
Oh, fiction. Well, sorry. No, well, I'm talking nonfiction.
Nonfiction. Yeah,
No.
Okay. Sorry, man.
And you raved about it for years. I
still rave about it. What are you talking about?
I know.
What's the problem with it?
No.
It gets things right.
No, I don't.
Let's talk about China, right? So the Innovator's Dilemma talks about like bottom up, basically low-end companies working their way up, and each company at the top, like the high-margin companies, saying, oh, we'll deal with that later. Man, this is just China in a nutshell. This is going to loop us back to China. Did you see that article on the list about China factories in Shenzhen can copy products at breakneck speed?
in,
I mean, like,
what was it, 9 days or something?
yeah, I don't know what it was. It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
but it was like
no, if
they're
people
watching
don't know,
Kickstarter videos and they're just doing it because they can. And it's like, all right, what are you gonna do? You know?
Yeah, somebody, if you don't know, we might be able to find the link to it. Somebody did a Kickstarter or an Indiegogo or whatever for a battery, a mobile phone battery case had
this was a selfie stick.
It was a selfie stick built into a mobile phone case. Right. So it was like embedded in the back, and you pulled out. It was like concertina, this selfie stick out, and had this Kickstarter. And before the Kickstarter was even finished, you could buy. It was like 30-day Kickstarter. You could buy the finished product on Alibaba. For like 1/10 the cost of what he was going to sell it for, or 1/5 or something. And you could actually buy it. They had actually manufactured it before the campaign was even finished. And they stole all his photos. Not only did they steal the idea, they stole the photos.
I don't know, man.
It looked exactly, and and one of them even stole the name that he picked.
Sure,
I can't remember what it was,
I mean,
and it's like,
I don't know. I don't know how to feel about this. Like, part of me just loves that this can be done so much faster.
I know.
Right?
I'm practically.
But also
applauding the fact that this can be done. Like, I'm applauding and amazed that we live in a world where this is possible.
There are real considerations here, right? I mean, obviously, if it was a unique idea, which I don't know if it actually was, they said that there were other ideas or other things that were already out there like this in the past.
But they, in this particular case, they stole it like identically.
Right.
So it's not a variation of. Yeah.
Sure. I don't know though. I don't know. Like, it's like I think what it comes down to. So from like the electronic side, it's like you're never going to be able to protect your product fully, right?
No, you can't.
And I think what that comes down to is like that's why you see so many things that have like market backends that you just can't. If you can control which devices can go onto a marketplace, right? Like a app store or something like that. That's why investors love that kind of stuff, because then they can say, oh, well, you have to verify to get on this marketplace.
Right. Yep.
Some kind of verification step that, again, it's going to be broken in some way, but that what a lot of people like, because I mean
there are a few platforms like that example where it's possible to protect your investment, your idea.
Right.
But in the hardware space, it's not really. And it's like free speech. I mean, there should be almost no limits to it. And like, you should not protect people in this respect from, like in terms of free speech, you should not protect people from hearing things they don't want to hear. Or in this particular case, to bring it to hardware, you should not protect people's hardware just because it can get ripped off in China. If it can get ripped off in China in record time, well, that's a practical reality of the world we live in, and you've got to deal with it.
Well, I think that's what it comes down to. Like, so I think the difference for me is like the line that I draw is, okay, so say this guy wasn't crowdfunding, right? So basically crowdfunding is like a unspoken social contract that's saying, here's my idea. This thing isn't in the world, and I think it's a good idea to put it in the world. I need help funding it, right? If it really was profit-driven kind of stuff, then maybe you should keep it secret, right? I mean,
you shouldn't have. No, it's the part of the risk you take by publicizing your information, and that's what you do when you do a Kickstarter. Here's my idea.
Right.
I haven't got the money yet to make it, but here's the idea. You can't blame somebody else for ripping off that idea.
You can blame them, but there's probably just isn't much you can do about it, Like,
there's nothing.
Because the same thing happens with patents, right? I mean, patents are basically putting that idea out there, right? Someone could go and rip that off as well, but it basically gives you the right to block importing into whatever country where you have the patent. Right?
Once the patent is granted, etc. Yeah,
right. And if it is actually
you have the right
unique
to sue them, etc. Yeah.
And and so that is kind of the trade-off, and it's not great. I mean, it's not like I don't feel for the guy, right? Obviously, he spent time designing it and doing nice marketing around it and all that other stuff. So, I think the best option when I saw people talking about this is like, well, go hire those factories. Like, they've already figured it out, right? Yeah, I mean, like, exactly. That's honestly what it comes down to. And it's like, man, that is so weird. And yet, at a certain point, it's like the work's done.
I know. If I was this guy, I probably would have gone, okay, I lose. They ripped off my good idea. Hey, and that's a validation that it was a good idea, right? Because these people aren't going to copy something that's a shit idea and they know there's no market for.
Right.
Right?
I agree. Yeah.
Right? They ripped it off because it was a bloody good idea and they knew they could sell units, right?
Sure.
So he immediately should have, whoever it is, immediately, I don't know if it was an individual or a whole company.
I think it was a figurehead in a
person.
company, though. Yeah.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, they should have just went, well, that's validated our idea. Let's go buy.
Right. I'll up your orders, right?
It's
and because
the
costs are way lower, and it is. I think it's this weird
and then ship them to the backers.
Yeah,
and then
I think there is a.
But then the backers might go, well, you just bought this from them once. You would have to be transparent.
But who cares? I mean, if your users actually cared about that at the end of the day, right? They're backing your idea. So I don't know.
Yeah, but they're also backing you. They're not necessarily just backing your idea. You don't know that. A lot of them might think, oh, you might have a sob story behind your, campaign. Like, I've got to feed my kids, or I'm dying with cancer or something. I don't know, right?
That's sad, but it's not a valid reason to.
No, but that's bad analogy, right? But they could. A lot of them might back it because they like you, right?
Well,
not necessarily because they like the idea.
Unless there's like an unspoken.
That's part of it as well.
Cold contract to I want to see how you're doing all of this stuff. Then I don't know. I just don't think that's how. That's not how I use Kickstarter. How about that? That's all I can say with confidence is usually when I'm backing something, it's because I want it.
Yeah, right.
Maybe with music it's different.
Yeah, it's probably 90% of the reason. Yeah.
Yeah.
But then you might also say, well, I'm going to get these manufactured in the US, and if you say that, well, then you can't just go out and get them made in China.
Right.
Something. Yeah, but maybe if you haven't promised
between you and your customers.
If people knew you were going to get it made in China anyway. What's the difference?
Sure. Yeah.
In fact, you deliver on time and early. Because it's already done, right? It's like
and I just think that people. I mean, usually they're backing the "I want that thing," and
right.
If they've already, I mean, I guess they could ask for the money. Like maybe they'll say, "Oh, it's." I could go buy it myself. Like a lot of people say that, but it's like, but then if the guy that's running the campaign goes and verifies it and says, I verify this, is that really any different than going to find a manufacturer? I don't know. Maybe this is all just justification in my head.
You've vetted, and because people don't know what they're buying. If they see this one on, it might look good because they stole his photo or his render or whatever.
Right.
Right. But you don't know what actual quality you're getting. But if you're the campaign owner and you go to the factory and buy one of these things and vet it and go, I actually approve of this. It's as good as what I wanted.
Yep.
Then, that's a justification.
Because that's what some people do anyways, right? They'll put something on Kickstarter, right? They have an idea, maybe they have a prototype, and then they're going to go to maybe it's not an individual factory, but maybe they go to like a Jabil or Flextronics or whatever, like turnkey.
One of those turnkey turnkey
solutions. And that's what they do.
Yep.
And then there's engineers that are taking these prototypes and ruggedizing them and making them manufacturable, DFM, all that stuff. Like sometimes that is what you're doing, and then but the idea is that you have spec'd this thing out, and then you are the final say, and then it's like that contract that you said, okay, this is the thing. I don't know. I think there is a lot of. I still feel it too, like where I'm like, oh, that's my idea, and then I'm like, well, my ideas are stupid, right? Right. My ideas have all been done before, and same for you, and same for a lot of people, right? There are very few new ideas, but I think there's still that. Oh, well, but the way I did it is important. And it's like, maybe that's where we need to start shifting away from that, I don't know. Maybe I'll change my tune on that. Maybe I'm talking out of my ass. I don't know. That's the point of the Amp Hour.
I think we need to follow up. I think we need to follow that one up and see what happened with that. I'm not sure because it's like several weeks back now. And, the person... did they do a blog post or something, the campaign owner or something like that? Or somebody did.
Well, I'll have to go check on that. Maybe I'll do a boomerang. Maybe I'll send you an email in a year. How about that?
Right. Awesome.
Right.
But anyway, that's an interesting one. And ultimately, you've got to, feel pissed off, right? That's fine. That's natural. But you've got to deal with the practical reality of the world you live in. And,
right. Yeah, you can rage all you want, but I bet you're not going to be able to sue for any money in China.
No, and the more you try and push back against this, the more you are going to lose. Right?
It's almost like
this
lean into it.
campaigner goes, I'm going to sue them, and like I think they were actually trying to take them down. They were trying to like submit claims, and I think they even mentioned, it's like playing whack-a-mole. They were trying the new seller of this thing popped up. Oh, whack, whack, whack.
Right.
You're going to lose.
Yep.
And you're going to expend all your time and energy doing that. And you're guaranteed to lose. So I would have embraced it and go, well, yeah, okay, I give up. I'll go buy it from them. And maybe you can buy it from them or maybe do a special order from them. We want a nicer color, a nicer powder coat finish or something, there's something to differentiate it from the one that you buy just on Alibaba. Mm-hmm. Right? So, I would have embraced that instantly, as well as being a bit pissed off at the same time. But,
sure.
Yeah. So, anyway, I think that's the only way you can win that. There's no, you cannot win
I think that's a good point, actually. Like, I think products these days are going to differentiate based on, marketing, right? And that campaign was, sure, yeah. And then if it is some kind of connected thing, then having a marketplace, having some kind of verification, basically controlling the flow somewhere, but people might not like that as well. Like there are downsides to that too. So,
and it's like, it's like I resell a multimeter, right? And I'm going to potentially resell other products in the future. I think I need to value add.
Sure.
Something. Yeah, I only value added in small ways. Like I helped a little bit in the design of this thing. I vetted it. I got the. I
think you shouldn't skip over that vetting it though. I mean, like that is what people are buying, right?
That's a big thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I deliberately ordered the high quality probes with it. I'm going to order I've ordered a customized case for it, which I'll be selling soon. I sort of added it, I took the manual and added stuff to it, so I improved the manual, things like that. So,
right, and this is how a lot of product stuff has been done for a long time, white labeling, value adding stuff. At the risk of sounding, I think I hear myself and I'm like, I think me from 5 years ago might have been mad at that, maybe. Like, you should focus on the manufacturing and there's interesting stuff there. And it's like, no, look, there is interesting stuff there. But I think the reality is, especially in consumer markets, like, it's a cost-driven thing, right? If you want to do a super, super high-quality thing, then maybe go over there and you take what they started with, you find their suppliers and you ruggedize that supply chain, you ruggedize whatever they're working on, right? You do the DFM kind of stuff, but saying you need to do the whole thing, if people just care about cost, then you're going to lose, right? And I think, unfortunately, a lot of industries fall into that because people do care about cost, and it's tough.
Speaking of which, probably a last thing because we're like 8 minutes over. I'll link it. I just love this one. This one comes from Paul Reynolds, who we've mentioned on here before. He was the former Vice President of Engineering at Ubeam, which is a company you don't like to talk about because you're a pussy. And their ridiculous crap product. Anyway, that doesn't exist and will never exist because it's impractical. Anyway, he's got this blog called Lies, Damn Lies and Startup PR. And he talks about this, we'll link it in. It's a juicer, right? It's a startup company that manufactured a juicer.
Yep.
Yeah, just like you put fruit in and it juices it and creates juice.
I think juicer is actually a very... it's a misnomer here, right? I don't think it's actually juicing anything.
Oh, no. It takes actually pre-packaged. We'll get into that shortly. But yeah, they basically raised $120 million of VC funding for this juicer that's going to sell for $700, and it's Wi-Fi connected, and they've gone like the Canon inkjet consumable model. Where if you want this thing to work, you've got to buy our pre-coded, barcode-coded packets of fruit, for like, I don't know, $10 a pop. Or so, yes, they're $10 a pop for these, it's all organic-y fruit or whatever, And so there's $10, and your juicer will not work unless it talks back to the website, scans the barcode of the juice packet, and verifies that you bought it from them, it's a genuine one, and only then will it process your juice and come out, all for $700.
Right.
And you might think, how can anyone, any VC person with any, a sound mind and reasoning skills actually think this thing would sell? And he actually goes through and lists in industrial design, market penetration, the supply chain, the impulse to buy, the founder, and what the VC was actually looking at to convince themselves to invest in this dog, right, of an idea. And he thought it was ridiculous until he sat down and thought about it. And yes, they ticked every single box that these VCs wanted to hear. They ticked every single one of them. And I'll actually list them quickly. These tick marks are: the founder is a dedicated and true believer, right? You've got to have that.
Oh, yeah.
And it's got a simple tagline, easy to understand, tick. It's got a comparison business model that shows billions in revenue, i.e. there's a competing product out there that's already has billions in revenue. You're going to do it
so
better,
like the Keurig,
right?
That's what they're comparing against.
The Keurig, which is what, a coffee maker, is it, or something?
Yeah, it's like the pods, like the
pods,
the DRM2, the 2.0 is the one that people rebelled against because it had DRM in it. So.
Oh, right, in the packets of coffee or whatever, or however it works. Right, okay. Yeah, so it had a comparison business model that they could show. And it had profit on the product, ongoing revenue from the consumables, right? Because they locked in that design.
The Gillette model, the King Gillette.
Yes. Yeah. Or the Canon inkjet model. Yeah, we'll give away the printer. It's practically $20 for the printer, but we'll charge $50 for the inkjet.
Right, or give away the razor, sell the blades. That kind of thing.
And sell the blades. Yeah, and so it's got that, and it's got the hockey stick revenue curve. So they can
but every presentation has that for a VC.
Every presentation, but it's got to have it, right? So it had it. And they could kind of sort of back it up with some bullshit. And there was no risk in any new technology. It was just in how they executed it, right? So there was no risk in, we're using some whiz-bang new tech. No, it's just existing tech executed in a smart way, right? So it ticked that box, low risk for them. And there was the ability to lock out third-party suppliers, using that DRM model. And a first mover advantage. I can't remember what that
So like they're the first juicer on the market. That's the idea.
The first juicer on the market that has Wi-Fi, so it's an Internet of Things thing, and then has pre-packaged fruit that's all DRM encoded. So I
think this is such a dumb idea.
But this is how he explains how these professional VC investors actually put money into this thing.
Okay, so here's my thing.
It's obvious from the outside, it's obvious, but they actually, because it ticked all the boxes, and they go through, they're methodical. They go through and tick the boxes and go, well, yep, I'm going to invest.
Okay, so here's the thing. We have plans to have a VC on soon to talk about a lot of this stuff, who's one of the good ones. I really like him. And so we will definitely return to this. But I think
definitely, it's a good example.
Do not judge a product or an idea based on how much money it raises. That is actually a downfall to TechCrunch, because that's not all they write about. That is one of the main things they write about is like, oh, blank and blank raised all this money, or like Ubeam raised all this money. It's like, that is almost solely a measure of that, the personal stuff, right? Like
totally. It makes no difference of whether or not the idea is viable.
Right.
No, it always comes down to, is the idea viable? Yeah. No, and this is going to be a $100 million turkey.
I think the lesson for our listeners is, if you want to go big like this, you want to go big with distribution and all that other stuff, you want to start a company like this, be ready to try and raise that money and try and be that person, right? You have to. That is your job, is raising money, and it's raising money. That's terrible. It's terrible.
It's a terrible way to do it.
Yep.
No, you should be able to raise your money based on the validity of your concept and idea only. But unfortunately, that's a hard slog, right?
Definitely.
You can do it.
And we should say it's a skill set too. I mean, like for real, like it is. People that can do that are they're going to go far. But it's I don't want to ever get near that. Yeah. Oof.
That'd be.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
I've always thought, like, if I won, $100 million lotto or something, $50 million lotto, I'd probably I'd need to invest it in some way. And would I, would I become like, or at least use part of it to become like a VC funding thing? And how would I go about, actually vetting projects like that? It's an interesting, yeah. I
guess.
I would totally follow my nose. I think I've got a reasonably, decent bullshit detecting nose. So I could rule out, some dogs, but yeah.
Buddy, step one, win the lottery, then we'll talk about that, huh?
Right, okay. Well, no, it's just a fun thing to think about, right?
No, that sounds like a terrible fate to me. I can't imagine like having enough money to do whatever I want and sitting around listening to pitches all day. That sounds like going to hell. Like, honestly.
Yeah, it could be. Yes, I totally agree. Yeah. Whether or not I would do it, Yeah.
All right, we should save our listeners' future.
I think I wouldn't be pitched to. I would simply, like, if
no one would get through your email.
Right. If I saw a good idea, I'd actually approach them and go, hey, I really think your idea's, got some legs.
I think you're full of it and you're wrong. And and I'll end on that.
Fine.
Okay. If you have a great idea and you'd like to tell us about it, you could write into feedback@theamphour.com or post it on our subreddit where we hide. This is where we show all of our links throughout the week. We are upfront about what we're going to be talking about throughout the week, and you could post your own stuff there. If you have an idea and you need some help with your design,
Chris is not offering money. He's offering his time and
offering time. That's all I have.
Expertise.
So, and not much of that either. So
right.
Not much of the expertise either. But there's links for that.
All right. And his vast audience that he can actually promote it to as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Once again, thank you to our Patreon sponsors. You guys make that possible. If you're interested, go to patreon.com/theamphour. You can support us there.
Absolutely.
Anything else, Dave?
Catch you next time.
See ya.